Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with the special selections, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's is going to be pretty interesting, particularly because we have a first on the channel. Jonathan says, very excited to introduce the first opera on the channel. Most operas are way too long for reactions, but this one is one of the handful that are around 1 hour long, and it's arguably one of the best of the 20th century. It was composed by the Hungarian composer Béla Bartók in 1911 from a libretto by the Hungarian poet Béla Balázs, based on the French fairy tale Barbe Bleue by Charles Perrault, who also wrote Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. Balázs's version is even darker and more overtly symbolic and mysterious than the original. Bartók's music is a fascinating mixture of his early and mature styles, the former hugely influenced by the late Romantic Expressionism of Richard Strauss, and the latter influenced more by the ambiguous harmonies of Debussy and the avant-garde modernism of Stravinsky and Schoenberg. So it's somewhere in the middle of the spectrum of his most accessible and challenging works. Alright, not gonna lie, this was like the sixth take. There's a lot of names in there that I could and have mispronounced. And it might not even be perfect on that take, but I think that was pretty good. So, we have a 20th century composer making an opera who is known for challenging works, but also has some stuff on the less challenging side of the spectrum. And this specific opera, the composition of it is going to sit in the middle of Bartók's difficulty scale of getting into. What is this called? That's pretty bad. So we're looking at Béla Bartók's Duke Bluebeard's Castle. That's what the track, not the track, the song, the opera is. It is 1 hour long, pretty much on the dot. And from what I understand, there's no breaks in the music. I don't know that I would normally allow this, particularly because I don't know how the music is structured or broken up. But we haven't had the chance for an opera on the channel, and we might not have another. So I figure we'll go through with it. And, I'm always up for a challenge. So a long intro for the channel, 3 minutes. So let's just dive into it. See what Bartók is bringing to the table today. And a quick note, when I was trying to standardize the volume for this, normalize it for the video, the peaks are fairly spacious. There's a very wide dynamic volume on this performance, which makes sense given that it's an opera. I do have the peak volume a little higher than usual because I want the quieter sections to still be audible. So maybe if you're one of the people who have a set volume, every time you watch the channel, you you set your TV or something to a set volume, the music will be a little louder than usual today.
Listen, there's a story to be told, a tale that's been hidden away. Now where shall I find it? Once upon a time, was it outside or inside, there was an old legend. What does it mean, my lords and fine ladies? Now as the song begins, you watch me watching you. The curtain of our eyelashes opens. Where is the stage? Outside us or within, lords and fine ladies? We watch each other closely as the song begins. Who knows where it comes from? Listen to it, wonder at it, my lords and ladies. The music sounds, the flame burns. Let the players begin. There was an old castle, so old that even the legend about it is lost in time. Listen to the song. Listen and take care.
A little bit of mystery, intrigue, a little hint of danger. Beautiful little swell there. I love the blocking there, separating the two people. The crossing of the threshold, realizing what she's done now. The harmonic information is interesting. It's tough for me to get a read on I like how the music is matching her hesitation. Curiosity. The uplifts. Oh no, what is this flurry? My best guess at the moment is that a lot of the chords being utilized are actually layered chords. And so we're getting a lot of duality. But there's also a little bit of clash that presents a little bit of dissonance that really fleshes out some of these chordal choices. Didn't she just say she didn't care for the flowers and sunshine, but now she's like, I'm going to change your castle. We're going to have flowers and sunshine. I might have missed something though. I missed like 4 lines of lyrics, so. You know what's wild too is this isn't the longest song we've done on the channel. I think that award still goes to Bellwitch Mirror Reaper. Also, this is like a 6th over already. Where did those 10 minutes go? I'm a little disappointed though, he's more of a gray beard. I'd love to see a zoomer remake of this with actual blue dye in the beard. Why are there locked doors? So no one can see what's in them. I like that answer. I wonder if this is as quickly paced as it is due to the shorter runtime, or if all operas are heightened like this. In a 13-minute span, this lady went from, I don't know if I should be here, to, oh my god, I'm here, I can't go back, to, I'm changing your whole place, to, I want to go everywhere in your castle, I don't care what the rumors are. An oboe? I like the isolated music though, just that one woodwind instrument. Almost doing a sort of call and response against the vocals. Yeah, so I'm catching some references here. Or not references, points of familiarity. Yeah, so part of that harmonic flurry that I keep hearing is a type of atonality to everything. Dude, that is a fast bell run. Also, dang, that was a very slick effect for whenever this was recorded. Tension, anticipation. I am confused, though, about that detail. Apparently there are no weapons or blood in the wall, but she saw them, and we got to see both perspectives, what was there and what she perceived. So the music reminds me a lot of Stephen Sondheim's chromaticism and atonality and swirling melodic ideas and flourishes that he would utilize in another horror-based musical about a man and a woman, Sweeney Todd. The more I listen to this, the more sure I am that Sondheim must have heard this some point in his life, and it influenced a lot of how he wrote that musical. That one trilling flute in the background. It's really droning on that flute, allowing this moment to hang, because it is important. He's basically allowing this person to see all of his secrets now. Really fun rhythmic things going on between the brass and the woodwinds. And the swell into the uplift, giving way to the tension and allowing it to release, something Sondheim also does often in the Sweeney Todd musical. Usually in that same way, heavy dissonance and atonality leaning towards some sort of standardized chordal movement and resolution. She did that ba-da-ba-ba, and then the instruments played a third up above that ba-da-ba-ba. It's interesting to hear how much of this feels conversational, in that the music is reflective of the singing. Wondering if there are any motifs that I'm missing. Are there any recurring ideas in the music? I really like that moment because his lines were a bit understated, and so the music was understated, quieter. She's more expressive and direct with what she's saying. She says exactly what she means. And so she has these loud, not stingers, but big punctuated moments to the music that goes along with her lines. A very shimmery sound to go along with treasures. Very treble based. Really all we need is a soft mallet based cymbal roll going on underneath all this as a drone. There was another one. She finished her line, ba-da-da-da, and the flute comes in with that before rising up a third. The French horn has mimicked it but slowed it down. The violin picking up. Yeah, there's a lot of that in here. Has it happened with the male singer yet? All the ways that the music converses, I've always picked up with the female vocalist. And of course, it's rubies, and it looks like blood. Oh, she even says there's blood on you. Okay. They wanted to make sure we as the audience didn't miss that very obvious visual illusion. Why would you want to be here? Are you sure you want to open my doors? Be careful. Now it's, hey, get to the next door already. I'm lacking patience for this. A lot of these more somber moments where very little is happening visually are also met with drone coming from the music where very little is happening auditorily too. I think that's a very cool parallel there. The narrative takes its time, so the music takes its time. They both explore a space. Are those doves? I'm not a bird person, but an interesting choice. I don't know if they are universally seen as a bird of peace, but that's the first thing I think of. Blood red roses. This dude certainly has a theme in his house. So then does her white attire, all white attire, including the shawl that she took off earlier, indicate a type of innocence? His all black could be seen as an opposite to that. Whatever that opposite of naivety or innocence would be in this case, I'm still not quite sure where they're going with this or who he is. There's very little characterization done for him yet. He just seems to be an old man in a castle. There's some rumors, presumably about him doing bad stuff that are supposed to act as a warning for her that she didn't heed. And this is probably more typical for opera as well, but I like the contrast between the two vocalists range-wise, primarily, though they do have some really nice timbral differences as well. I like how he's just totally deflecting. Like, let's not talk about that. There's other cool things. Like, look how awesome you are, bro. The bells toll just for you. Oh, the bells toll for... Oh, man. So he's gonna kill her, isn't he? Okay, that's not creepy. Love me and ask no questions. Even in shock, you must sing your yelps or your cries. I love the wonder mixed with awe and terror that we're getting right here. Just basking in this is what the music's doing. It's kind of hanging on to this one big chord. Interesting. They were just not letting us go. I really thought we were coming to an end to this idea. Also, fantastic time to bring a timpani in. I think that was the first time we've heard it the entire opera. Oh man, there's only so many times you can do this before it stops feeling this epic. Okay, that's a bloodstained shadow. That's taking it to a new extreme there. Clever, though. What are these clouds? I'm asking the same question. Something else that's standing out to me is just how nonchalant this dude is about everything. He's like, no, don't go open that door over there. And then he's just like casually sipping wine, not trying to physically stop her. I love the little flurry going on in the woodwind there. Oh, I didn't catch that too. Yeah, she wanted flowers and light. The castle shines, doors and windows are open, and they have a bouquet of blood flowers. Dang. Yeah, rhythmically lining up there with both of the singers. Dude has a fantastic beard, though. Like, it's shaped phenomenally. It's filled out nice. And he's wearing the salt and pepper thing really well. A little bit of gray in there. This is interesting. He didn't want the first few doors opened. He rushed her through the next two. And he doesn't want these last two opened. Yeah, it's very romantic. Music from the Romance period of classical. Not that it's something to fall in love to. I mean, there are some very cool flourishy bits that I do think are modernly romantic. But on the whole, I would not say this opera is full of romantic sounds. And except that it is full of romantic sounds. If you catch my drift. Again, talking about the classical era. The joke's dead. Alright, whatever. Oh, it's okay. Something I'm also noticing is that the vocal melodies rarely line up with the music. Not too dissimilar from a traditional film or play that might have music with it, where the spoken dialogue doesn't line up rhythmically or harmonically with the music. Because there's like that separation, that distinction there, where the actor's usually not aware there's music going on behind it, because it's background music. It doesn't exist diegetically in the world of the story. That's kind of what this feels like. But like, they're also singing, so it's a division between the two musical parts, except for when it isn't. When we have that conversational element between the vocalists and the music. I know it's an older video, so editing and number of cuts and stuff just had different standards. But I really like that this is one long track shot. I mean, many of these scenes are pretty lengthy shots, pushing upwards of several seconds before a cut. I'm a big fan of that. Also, the past 40 minutes have all been rather consecutive, right? That was the first time skip, I think, jumping from one place to another and pushing towards sometime in the future. Unless they're going to tell me she got teleported to the bedroom, and I'm not buying that. So what you said about the penultimate door too, I'm pretty sure you're going to give this one away. Just going to take a little bit of I was going to say pestering, but I suppose seduction's also going to work. Tension is a real mood killer in the music. I mean, I think based on the acting and the lines delivered, this isn't exactly a, oh, maybe it is. It's an interesting question to ask. Again, a strange mixture of emotions from the music. Not just a layering of chords, which we still have, but the sequence of chords also have it's like a sequence of emotions. I'm not sure if I should read them in succession or simultaneously as a mixed emotion. This guy's very no nonsense. He's very fixated on like 3 ideas. He just keeps repeating them throughout this opera. I don't know how accurate the translation is, the subtitles, but I do like how there's no variation in at least the subtitles. Just no questions, no questions, no questions, just love me, no questions. Just not finding different ways to say that line, just repeating it over and over and over. Very focused on how he wants to present himself. Kind of a simple person. I can respect that. Just happens to be right next to the bedroom. So she's gone through 2 outfit changes, having layers removed each time, which could probably be symbolic in some way. This is the first time he's changed his clothes at all. descending thirds. I like the acting here because it's a little mix of menacing mixed with the music, but it's also type of defeat almost. He's tried so hard not to push her away from this. He's just like, whatever. No power, no volume, just take it. Oh, and she won it. Also, it's wild. She says, you froze your wives in their own blood. And he's like, yeah, it's true. And she's like, well, now I want to see. Open the door. Oh, man. My first instinct is, okay, I'm getting out of this castle now. I like how the music is doing so much storytelling at that moment. Oh, gentle. We have a harp at the beginning of this segment. I feel like that's a little turn we've heard a lot of in here. More of those flute flourishes. Bartók must have loved those. They're all over the place. I can't believe this is almost over. This has seriously gone by in a flash. Another one of the... Now this one's not really a drone, but it's definitely a sparse section focused on very little movement. So when she said they were frozen in blood, I was not expecting them to just be chained up. Oh, they're not frozen. It blows my mind how chill the music is after have being so tense, full of dissonance and clashing chordal properties, all opera long. It's just so whimsical now. Ah, dang, I've missed a few lines. A few important lines too. This is the big climax. It's not a red gown though. The roses from room 3. Like a penny dress? Oh, sequins. Thought I found one. Did he say found for all of them? I'm still trying to figure out the time thing. I mean, if they're frozen in place, aren't they all around for all parts of the day? Also, if he has this whole time thing, her. Yep. That kind of messes with the time thing. Unless it's going to be like dusk. Well, she did say at the night, right? I suppose that's different than evening. So yeah, one for each quarter of the day. Although why there isn't a fourth box in the wall then, little alcove cut out. The big swell here. The scent in the brass. Fluctuating back and forth. Oh, it was fluctuating back and forth between two notes, existing in two states. kind of confused about the time frame of all this. He says he found her at night, but she wanted light to come in through all the windows. And then presumably she slept? Wasn't the bedroom rather bright? Was that from a window or a light? Presumably it would be daytime now, and he says that the castle will be night. Is that like a metaphorical thing? Huh. Alright, I want to talk about the music first, since that's my area of expertise. We're not going to dig super deep into it. It's going to be more of a surface level analysis, simply because the video is like already an hour long, but also because it's an hour's worth of music that can't remember every moment of. And unlike most songs that we listen to and analyze and break down on this channel, there is an entire other aspect to it, which is the visual element, the acting. And of course, also me trying to keep up with the story through the lyrics, which I could only understand through the subtitles. So I had a lot more things to focus on and try to think about rather than just what's going on in the music. But there are some things that I do want to bring up because I greatly enjoyed them. The first of which being the harmonic ambiguity going on here. I think I figured it out in the middle of the track that there's simply scale layering going on. A lot of the songs we listen to on the channel focus on one specific chord at a time, and usually focus on one specific key per song. It's a flattened, reduced harmonic information that makes it really easy to understand what's going on in a track. If they primarily use minor chords, it's going to sound sad, and thus you have a sad song. Bam, that was, real hard. This, though, it's really difficult for me to understand what's going on harmonically, what chords are being played, and it's because there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of additional information. I can hear something that sounds like it has sorrow to it, or joy, or fear, or tension, or introspection, but it's rarely by itself. It's always accompanied by something else, some stray notes thrown into the mix. What I think is happening here is that we're usually getting two chords at any given time, usually with some sort of overlap or crossover. If we think about it as a Venn diagram of chords, that's kind of what it feels like. Everything in the middle is the notes that they share, and everything in their own respective circle is what would give it a sorrowful flourish and maybe a tense flourish, or something like that. And so if you listen, it sounds like you're getting all of the one circle with the little dash of the few notes that exist in the other. But what's actually happening is you're getting all the stuff in the middle and some from both sides. It allows these sections to feel simultaneously of two elements. Additionally, what it does though is add dissonance through a lot of this track. This track, I don't know what I should call it. This is opera. This song. Um, there are moments where having these two chords, they do share notes, and that's going to create consonant harmony. But I think they're also going to have clashing notes in some situations, in which case you're also going to introduce dissonance. So aside from the duality of the emotions, you also have a duality of harmony, where like 70% of it feels consonant, it feels harmonious, and the other 30% brings about some dissonance, some clashing of sounds. It's it ends up creating an overall harmonic presence for this track that is complex, honestly. At any moment, I'm never really sure what I should feel. I usually get little inklings of a notion towards one idea, but it's not anything that I'm told to feel very strongly of. I find this to be fascinating. A lot of mainstream and especially modern music, and I say modern, I'm talking about 100 years, give or take, of mainstream music, the popular stuff that people tend to listen to. Because, of course, this is only 100 years old as well. This was composed in 1911, first performed in 1918. So, yeah, just over 100 years old. Um, and there's been plenty of complex music in the last hundreds of years too. So I'm not trying to flatten all the music that's ever been made in the last century, just simply stating that what has been popular through a vast amount of it has typically flattened the harmonic element in order to create it more palatable, to make it more palatable. You know, if you want your audience to feel sad with you, you just use some sad chords and bam, the song's sad, you're making everyone else feel sad. They know what they're in for. It simplifies it in a way that makes it more palatable and digestible. It's not a bad thing at all. It's just different. This is complex. Doesn't make it better, makes it different. What it does do that I do think is objectively superior, though, is create some ambiguity in the emotional resonance. I think after a few listens of this and getting to understand the musical nature, the lyrical nature, the story as a whole, you can really come to a point where you begin to understand the nuance of the harmony. But on a first time listen, I rarely knew how to feel, and I think that's awesome. A lot of music and even film soundtracks tell you exactly how to feel. I think we can find this most evident in sad moments of films, especially anything made in the last 20 years, give or take, maybe even 30. There is the sad soundtrack music that as soon as you hear it and you see somebody start to have a tear in the film, the audience, depending on how emotionally available you are and emotionally reactive to music like this, are going to tear up as well. It's not just that it's a sad scene, it's that the music is telling you to cry also. Soundtrack music has not always done this. It has been a bit more ambiguous in the past. Not quite like this. This really takes the ambiguity to the next level, but it has never been so direct as, hey, tap, 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 this is the crying scene, listen to the music. And I do appreciate a little bit of ambiguity in it. I also find this to be interesting simply because I don't get to listen to a lot of music like this. And my gut instinct was originally chromaticism. I couldn't find any patterns at all. I'm not 100% sure that it is chord layering, to be honest. It's just it's a little gut feeling I have. A couple of times throughout here, I was like, oh, Okay, so these are these specific emotions. It's not just every note, though it does sound like there are a lot of notes at all times, but it is more of the specific grouping of a wider range of notes. So it's not chromaticism. I've brought that up a few times. It's using every note available to you. On the 12-tone Western notation, it would be like using all the white and black keys on a keyboard without using a special group of them, which is what we call chords or keys. Two different things, but both are about grouping up which of the 12 notes you should be using. So instead of just picking 6 or 7 or even 5, there are smaller chords like pentatonic chords, pentatonic scales. Um, instead of picking 5, 6, or 7, maybe 8 or 9, you kind of pick 9 or 10 of the 12 notes. And this gives you a much more ambiguous scale while still being relatively defined. You're not using everything, so it isn't all of the notes. It's still a selection of them. It's just a wider palette of emotions that it can paint and a deeper complexity of emotions. I think that's what's going on. And if it is, that's very cool. I need to listen to more stuff like this, and maybe I need to listen to more Bartók if this is his bread and butter. I'm trying to remember back what Jonathan had mentioned during the comments, and I remember they said something about this opera being in the middle of the palatability for Bartók. I could probably do with more of this, especially if that palatability comes from this type of harmonic writing. Now, that's not the only way that the music evokes emotion. There's also a lot of dynamic work at play, layers, volume, instrumentation types, whether it's woodwinds or brass, inflection, the way that you're playing a note, the articulation of it. All of this comes into play to create specific feelings throughout the track. A lot of the sparser sections are very legato style, in which case we have notes that just sort of slur into each other, la la la, la la la, very light. Then we also have staccato sections, which are very attacky, very abrupt, da 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 da, that's staccato. We also have a lot of stingers in here, which is just, a group of instruments, usually loudly, hitting a note and then just allowing it to ring out rather than holding it out and having this elongated note. There's just a lot of ways that the band can choose how to play what they're playing in order to craft specific vibes. And like I said, we also have swells all over the place, which is a volume thing. Whoa, whoa, swell in and swell out. And this is all also combined by layers. So many instruments are doing so many different things parallel to each other. There's also call and response, which we hear a lot in the instrumentation, but also infrequently. Call and response between the vocals and the music. And we also have the motif idea where one instrument will play something, they'll repeat it a few times, another instrument will pick it up, sometimes changing the pitch of it. I mentioned a couple of times raising up the idea third, which is in a key moving from one note to two notes above it to the third note of that key. And we even heard this where I think it was the Armor Room, where the vocalist sang out a little melody and it got repeated and echoed elsewhere in the instrumentation, which I thought was pretty cool. Still trying to figure out if that's supposed to mean anything. It happens so infrequently, though. Just that whole idea. And let me move on to that. In fact, I began to talk about a little idea of the vocals feeling distant from the music. When you watch a film, there might be background music behind the actors, but what they say isn't in any sort of rhythm or harmonic pitch compared to the music that's going on behind them. Because honestly, when they're filming, the music's not there. but also because the music isn't diegetic. That's a nice fancy word to say that it comes from a source within the art. So, if you ever, you got a scene transition, they got some punk music going on, and then it like camera zooms in on the person, like a character, and they got headphones on and they take them off, and then the music gets compressed and muffled as if you took your headphones off as well. That's diegetic audio. That music is coming from within the world itself. Most soundtrack music is non-diegetic. It doesn't come from the movie, it exists outside of it. It is a product of the multimedia project so that there's an additional auditory element for the audience to listen to react to get information from. In musicals, the background music isn't always diegetic, but it is acknowledged by the vocalists. They sing along to and with the music that's being played. They sing in rhythm with it, they sing in pitch with it. Sometimes those instruments, that music is part of the world, usually it's not. In here, I don't really feel that. There are a lot of lines delivered that are rhythmically out of flux with what's going on with the instrumentation. While everything is generally in tune, I wouldn't say that there were any moments where the vocalists were out of tune or creating dissonant harmony against the background music. It never really seemed to line up with any way of rhythmic or parroting or anything. The vocals seem to be distinct from the music in a way that feels more like spoken word acting on top of music, more so than a musical, which tends to incorporate the instrumentation into the vocal lines. I found that to be really interesting, but I found it to be more interesting when that division ceased and there was call and response and there was an echo. Those little moments are wild to me. They happen so infrequently, but it's impossible to ignore. When the entire song creates this division between these two parts of the music, it must mean something when that division is removed. And I don't know what it is. I don't. There's so many elements of the narration, the story that's written on paper here, that I feel has to play into the female character's psyche. Judith was her name, right? Yeah, Judith and Bluebeard. I think that's right. I think it would be very cool to find out that elements of the music ended up mimicking what she was doing as an attempt to showcase a slipping of a grasp on reality or something. But I think some of that also stems from my original idea, is that she is seeing something beyond what is there. And so I guess this kind of pulls into the narrative element, which isn't something I typically talk about in these videos. The opera is about Bluebeard, who has frozen his past three wives, past three lovers, right? Not what, I don't remember. Frozen them in a dungeon and has went and got his fourth. She comes into the castle, is hesitant, and has left a lot behind her. I really like that opening scene as we had an archway creating a physical separation between her, who was still on the outside of this castle on some sort of precipice, and him within the castle having gone down the stairs, and showing that division. And as soon as she crosses under the arch, she says, there's no going back. What have I done? This is it. She crossed that threshold that began this story. But so she goes through these 6 rooms that showcase parts of him, and they're all bloodstained. Except they're not. And this is what I want to call into question. In fact, even the first room is empty. Yet she sees blood pouring from the walls, and she sees the tools, because he mentioned it was a torture room. She sees daggers and stuff, but nothing was in there. She went into the armory. Everything was behind glass, and yet she said they were all covered in blood, which I didn't see any. And she smeared blood from her fingers. The roses bled blood. The shadows, the blood shadows from the clouds. All of the blood elements were, I don't want to say supernatural, but they were definitely beyond what actually happened. And so I instinctively want to read into that she was seeing things that weren't there. She was seeing the truth for sure. The castle was telling her to go away. There is death here. But they weren't actually there, were they? And so that's sort of why I want to read into a little bit of the music playing along with her, because it would be that break with reality, being able to see something outside of the reality, hear something outside of the reality, react with something non-diegetic. That's kind of where my mind goes with that. But I'm sure this opera is open to interpretation, and I will definitely be looking at some explanations for how people discuss and dissect what is going on here, because it is not exceptionally straightforward. In fact, the entire ending kind of is weird for me. Maybe we'll talk about that in a second. Is there anything else I wanted to bring up, though? Oh yeah. See, here's something else going along with the whole psyche breaking with reality kind of thing, is that Bluebeard very rarely ever harmonizes with, or does call and response with, or interacts in any way with the music. It is something that is, except for one moment, distinctly something for Judith. So I don't know if that's worth bringing up, but it is something I noticed. Judith also has an expansive range of vocabulary, and Bluebeard doesn't. He just says the same things over and over and over until the end, when he decides to be a little bit more verbose. I like that characterization between the two of them. On the aspect of imagery, I kind of mentioned that she slowly loses pieces of her clothing, becoming more and more bare, losing layers. Well, I guess it could be shedding layers. The first one is definitely shed. And the second one is kind of ambiguous about what happened, because it's the only time skip in the story, but she had an extra shoulder piece on when she was at the pool, and then she passed out and woke up in a bed with not it on, just a nightgown of sorts. Uh, I'm kind of curious if that's supposed to represent anything. Also, she's in complete white. Red is a frequent color throughout, and he's in complete black. He only has one attire change, which is right at the end. I don't know. There's a lot of patterns I picked up, but I don't know that I can connect them into anything meaningful as far as an analysis about what it's supposed to represent. Which is doubly why I want to get into some analytical conversation with people, because I see the patterns. I want the answers. I want to know what's going on with all this. Um, is there anything? There's got to be something else, right? No, maybe that's it. I mean, other than just Sondheim certainly has influence from this. I hear so much, especially those chromatic flourishes, just rising and falling, usually in steps of thirds, along a more, not necessarily a chromatic sound, although I think Sondheim does use chromaticism a lot in the Sweeney Todd um, musical. But I mean, Bartók, of course, as my instinct says, doesn't use chromaticism as much as dual scales, so having more notes to pick from. but it's still going to create that dissonant clashing. And we do hear a lot of dissonance in here. Oh, something else that we hear a lot of that would have been a shame if I had missed is pensiveness. And actually the entire romantic element of this. The romantic period of classical music was one of expressing. What would a sunset sound like? What does a deer prancing through the forest sound like? What does a leaf going on a journey on the wind sound like? This feels very expressionistic. I don't know if that's a word, I'm saying it. Many of the moments feel like they represent the feeling of the characters. Characters. Is the duality in the chords supposed to represent both of their emotions simultaneously, because they always are on opposite sides of the emotional scale? When one wants to do something, one doesn't. When one is elated, the other one is held back and restrained. When one is getting what they want, the other one is being led towards, I don't know if I can say their death, but definitely the end of their life, in a sense. So there is an opposition in goals, and that opposition could be represented in the music. I wonder if that's it. Huh. That'd be really cool, though, if it was. Like, I don't know how many people are going to watch all this to the end to hear this question, and then what percentage of those people are going to have an answer to this. But if anybody has any insights into the chord theory of this opera, please let me know about it. Where was I? Oh, yeah. It expresses the people when the lady gets excited, right? And she gets demanding, open this door, give me this key or whatever. Let's get some light in here. There's usually a punctuated sounds coming from the group. They tend to be higher pitched, fuller bodied, louder, all this kind of stuff. Anytime someone feels a bit more defeated or deflated, especially at the end, when Bluebeard ended up unlocking the final door, very somber, very quiet. I wouldn't say that there's a lot of melody in here from the music at all. It's all foundational and flourishy and expressionistic. What does anticipation sound like? What does danger sound like? What does the mixture of victory and fear sound like? That is what the instruments tend to do the most. I don't necessarily know that we could call this a romantic piece, but it does embody a lot of the characteristics that made up the music from that era. What I find very cool then is that we rarely get any situation where the band is separated, where one might be a bit quieter and somber and one is more bombastic, in a way to characterize both of the characters simultaneously during any specific moment. Instead, we will have 3 beats of elation and heightened movement, and then 2 beats of more somber, quieter, reserved ideas, as those are the 2 beats the reserved character is singing, and then when the other character comes in with some more power, the band flips right back into that. And it's this really quick movement between these two uh, extremes, and we'll hear that all over this track. In a sense, as I mentioned, the vocals feel distinct from the music. It's almost as if the music is trying to catch up, almost like a shadow play of the musical, which is a musical thing. A shadow play is an incident where you get a group together and you put the musical up on a projector or a TV or whatever, and then you also act it out alongside it in front of the performance. Um, so yeah, I don't know how many people are going to get that, so I didn't want to just leave it. Hey, it's a shadow play. If you know what that is. No, I figured I'd explain that one. Um, but yeah, like the more I think about it, it's like the music is watching these two people and creating the sound that they think would best suit it, but the people are unaware of the music. And I find that to be fascinating because it kind of takes away the concept of her psyche, and her hearing the music mimic and echo her, and more of the music sort of mocking her in some of these situations as an outside observer, almost as if it was some sort of omniscient narrator like the Greek muses. That's interesting. Now I'm kind of curious. Is Bartók alive? Nope. Passed away in 1945. Well, I guess I'm not going to ask him then. Well, I guess I got to ask other people if they kind of view that same perspective or not. But yeah, the other thing I was going to talk about is just long, pensive moments. Uh, because it's a film, you have highs and lows, and some of those lows are establishing shots or allowing an emotion to reside naturally. I love how the music leans into these as well, usually with some type of drone or a very minimal movement in order to craft a sound that matches the energy of the scene, without just allowing silence. I think it's masterful the way that it's done. And yeah, I mean, I guess the end of the day, I just got to check out more Bartók. This is the first I think I've heard of his, but yeah, I think Jonathan said he's one of the most important composers or one of the most prolific composers of the 20th century. I don't remember. Held him in high praise though. And yeah, I gotta add that to my list and go explore what I'm missing. Also, like I'm not a real big opera fan, but I enjoyed this. I don't know if it was the darker themes. I don't know if it was the shorter length. I don't know if it was the subtitles. That's, a lot of opera is not done in English, so that kind of makes it difficult to enjoy on a first time listen because then the entire thing's context clues. What's the music doing? How are they acting? And I guess some people really enjoy that. I'm not one of those. I've tried a few operas, it doesn't work for me, but this did. So it kind of makes me want to give some operas another chance and try to figure out what component of this worked for me, and I could seek that out in other operas. Anyways, that was a reaction. Pretty lengthy one. Those are my thoughts. Béla Bartók's, what is this? Oh yeah, Duke Bluebeard's Castle. I can't believe I made a remark about a Zoomer remake of this with an actual Bluebeard. I wonder how many people turned off the video after that. Oh my god, I can't take this guy. Close out of that. Alt F4, Control W. Let's go on to something else. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know your thoughts, perspectives, opinions about this. If you have any answers to anything that I said, or any questions as well. Maybe there's some things about the music that you heard or picked up on, but don't quite know what it means. Maybe you just want to ask me if I have a take on it. Sure, let's start some conversation around this. Above the comment section in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. As usual, we're going to continue on with this week's theme of sinister tones. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.